All right, we'll begin the presentation. So welcome to our presentation on return to learning, the start of phased in-person instruction, stage 4. I'm Brian Labaugh, Deputy Superintendent, and I'm thankful you could join us today. There are a number of other people helping me behind the scenes. I'll help to answer any questions you have in the Q&A function of this webinar. We are recording this presentation. We'll have it posted to our district website on the return to learning page later tonight or first thing tomorrow. Next slide. So success in part, and when we bring students back, will be measured by our ability to complete the morning Skyward Wellness Screener, our ability to wear masks, our ability to maintain hand washing regime, maintaining social distancing, and following the instruction of staff members. So we're all in this together. We're all safety heroes. Next slide. Tonight we've enabled the Q&A function on the Zoom webinar. All of the participants will be muted. You can ask your questions in the question and answer box. My team of people that are behind the curtain will be answering those questions to their best of their ability. I'm trying to get those answered for you in real time. And we will have some time at the end of the presentation to answer some questions that they are seeing that needed to be fielded, and for the large audience as well. This webinar is scheduled for 1 hour. We really do have a hard stop around 6 o'clock because we are starting our Spanish presentation at 6. And again, this will be posted to the district's YouTube channel and linked from our district website. Next slide. So when you go to the district website and you look at the 6 stages of return to learning, our return to learning page, you'll see this document. It's a little bit hard to read in this presentation, but you can go look at it on our district website. We've broken the return into 6 stages. So stage 1, which we operated in essentially a good portion of the year, was 100% distance learning. Stage 2, we started to bring in elementary students. So we have a couple weeks of where we've had K-5 and our preschool students in hybrid learning 2 days a week. And we started that under stage 2. We finalized the movement of elementary students in stage 3. And now we're at stage 4, where we are able to bring in middle school students. This is put together based on guidance from the Department of Health and State Office of Public Instruction. So it's broken up into high, moderate, and low. So we look at the case rate per 100,000 over 14 days. Right now, we are below 200 cases per 100,000. So we're well within the moderate range. When we started bringing elementary students in, we were up in the high range. But for all of our programming right now for elementary and middle, we are in the moderate range. We will bring middle school students back on March 1st, starting with 6th grade. And then on March 4th, we will bring 8th graders. And then on March 8th, we will bring 7th graders. We have served a number of special ed students over time. We started that back on October 1. As we bring in general ed students, there'll be more opportunity for them to interact with them as well, and run full programming for all students on campus. Next. So our moving to this hybrid instruction is really guided by a decision tree matrix developed by the State Department of Health. This guidance that they're providing, we are trying to live by as a district, and following the data that's provided by the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. And we look at what other Pierce County school districts in our area are doing as well. So now, because of where we are in stage 4, and hopefully we can move a little bit further and move to stage 5 for the return of high school students. Next slide. So in stage 4, we're bringing all of our students who've identified to return to campus to on-site learning, grades 6 through 8 in a phased-in approach. So 6th grade, then 8th grade, then 7th grade. The dates again are on this slide. Staff will be on site 4 days a week. Students will be on site 2 days a week, and there'll be up to 15 students per classroom in those on-site rooms. Next slide. So middle school students will participate in what's called an A-B schedule. This is how we're operating elementary as well. A being those students with the last names A through L, and B being students M through Z. That is, students will be attending Monday and Thursday with A through L, and Tuesday and Friday M through Z. Families who are remaining 100% virtual will also have an opportunity in the schedule, and we'll show you that here in a moment. We oh yeah, here we'll show that to you. All right, so this is an example of group A and group B. So what it shows is essentially in the morning, all students are at home online with their classroom teachers. We're sticking to the same schedule that we essentially have had since the beginning of school, with periods 1, 2, 3 on one day and then periods 4, 5, 6 on the other day. What you see is kind of complicated in that Monday and Friday are periods 1, 2, 3, and periods 4, 5, 6 are on Tuesday and Thursday. We meet all 6 periods on Wednesday. Wednesdays will remain the same as they have been with asynchronous or distance learning. Then those students who are in the A group will come in the afternoon. Buses will start picking kids up around 10:55 or 11 a.m. And then there'll be time to travel to school at our 3 of our middle schools. So Lockburn, Hutloff, and Thomas. There'll be 2 lunch periods over at Harrison Prep because they have a 4-period day. There's a little bit different schedule for middle schoolers. They will be eating lunch in their classrooms. So when we get closer to the start, Harrison Prep will certainly share their schedule, but this is really for the 3 middle schools. Then you see if you're in group B that afternoon, you would be in independent learning or asynchronous instruction in the afternoon, and then vice versa on the next day. Why we stuck periods 4, 5, 6 in Tuesday and Thursday is so that we could continue with the alphabet split of A through L and M through Z that the elementary schools are using, so that families wouldn't be trying to figure out which day their student goes to school. Your student in A through L in elementary go Monday, Thursday, also in elementary Tuesday, Friday if your last name's M through Z. And we will look at last names and consider any changes that need to be made if there are siblings with different last names. Next slide. This is what the 100% virtual student does. They are in the morning sessions with their peers. They still follow the same schedule. We do have an extra period of time in there for them to get virtual support from their classroom teachers. You see that from 11:25 to 11:50. And then in addition, there is some time built into the week after school, and you'll hear that directly from your students' middle school about any support sessions that occur after school hours starting at 3:30. Then just like the other half of the alphabet, they would be at home doing independent learning or asynchronous work. So just like what you would have, the M through Z kids would be doing on Monday, that's what they're doing. It's all continuous instruction right for that day. So it's periods 1 through 3, and it's periods 4, 5, 6 for Tuesday and Thursday. Next slide. So again, in middle school hybrid, a student will attend in-person learning on 2 days a week. Either that's Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Friday. When they're not attending in person, they'll participate in asynchronous or independent online schoolwork. On the day students attend, they will attend a partial day. So essentially from getting to school at the start of at school time, but essentially for the second half of the day. 100% virtual students will have the same teachers that they currently have. They'll be assigned that morning time, and then they will partake in the asynchronous instruction of that same class in the afternoons. They'll not attend the school in the building, but there is time built in again for them to connect with their classroom teachers throughout the day. We, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have been serving special ed students since October 1 on site. They'll continue to attend school under the new model or the new schedule. So there'll be a slight adjustment of the time that they're picked up to attend school, just essentially aligning them with the rest of the students who are coming in. They'll follow their second semester schedule. So in the afternoons, they'll be able to attend periods 1, 2, 3 or periods 4, 5, 6 with all their students, all peers that are coming. And as more students attend in person, they'll have more interaction with the general ed population, so in person as well. We did keep class sizes for a while smaller while we brought the special ed students in. We'll be able to bring those group sizes up to 15 with appropriate 6-foot social distancing and making sure everyone has their PPE. But again, just really adding to the service that our special ed students who have been coming to campus since October 1 are going to receive. As I said early at the very beginning, really all this dependent on how everyone does in completing the wellness screener every day. Before sending your student to on-site learning, we asked families to complete the wellness screener that's in Skyward, which is accessed through Family Access. There are 2 questions you answer. If you answer yes to either question, we're asking you to keep your student at home. When a student arrives at school, they'll be checked in by a school team to make sure the screener has been completed. If the screener hasn't been completed, then the student's temperature will be taken and making sure that they have no visible signs of COVID before entering the building. And for students attending school remotely, there's no requirement to complete the wellness screener unless you're going to participate in any after-school activities which bring you onto campus. So anytime you come to campus as a student, you'll be completing the wellness screener. The wellness screener can be completed by the student or the parent. So we're going to show you a quick video next of how the wellness screener works. I think my behind the scene person, Ben, will need to enable sound when he starts the video. I think we'll come back, Ben, to the video because we could also send a link out to where the video is on our YouTube channel. We can move to the next slide. So we'll send out a link to that YouTube video It's basically showing you how to get into Family Access through Skyward from our website or through the app, making sure that you know the 2 questions that need to be answered in the wellness screener. Just a quick little visual for you and kind of talks you through the steps. Again, attendance is important. We are taking attendance every day, so teachers will continue to take daily attendance for both all students in the morning who are attending virtually, and then students will be taken again in the afternoons when students attend on site. What's not changing is we'll still continue to send our school messenger calls out when students aren't present. We do look at how students participate in school, whether they're participating virtually, asynchronously, if they participate after school hours. We look for any of those opportunities to say a student has taken part of a class. If your student is absent for any reason, please make sure to call the school to excuse that absence. Next slide. Again, we have talked about this a number of times about immunization. If your student is not compliant with the state requirements around immunization, you will not be able to send your student to school on site. School nurses have made contact out about immunization compliance. This is really about measles, MMR shots, those sorts of things. This is not about a COVID shot. This is about regular school immunization records that we request of you, and we need to have those verified before your student can attend on campus. The state provided a waiver for a short period of time, saying that as long as kids were attending school virtually, there was no need to make sure that the immunizations were fully up to date. But before sending a student or a student being able to be on site, they have to be 100% compliant. Again, if you have any questions about that, make sure to contact your school health clerk or your school nurse to have a conversation about that and know where your standing is on immunization. So again, this is not the same as a COVID vaccination. That's not what we're talking about. These are just regular school required immunizations from the state of Washington. Transportation. We will be providing transportation to and from school. During the first week of school, students will get their Z-Pass cards. Those Z-Pass cards will be what we use for students to enter and exit buses. So they'll eventually get those in the next, in the first week or week and a half that they're attending school. Drivers and students will wear face coverings. If they're missing face coverings, students will be provided extra masks. Next slide. We will attempt to load buses from back to front. By bus stop, students will have assigned seats. Siblings may be seated together. Buses will operate per the published schedule that you can find on the district website. And again, Z-Pass is going to be used to monitor and account for who's ridden the buses to and from school. We do ask that the students bring their laptops back and forth to school. It would be nice if they had them in a case or their backpack as they bring them to school, and to make sure that they are charged and ready to go for the school day. Next. Students may bring school supplies, but we're asking that the students not share those school supplies. Those are their individual school supplies. If there's something that a student needs to participate in school, we will certainly provide that to them. Again, we're not asking for anybody to share anything, but various ways to store that, Ziploc bags, pencil box, but ways to just make sure you have something to write with and something to write in. But if you need something, a school will provide that. Next slide. So there'll be a couple of checkpoints at every school. We know students arrive in a variety of ways. Either they come on the bus or they walk or their parents drop them off. We're making sure that, again, that students have their face covering or mask on. If they don't have one, we'll provide one. Maintaining social distancing. They'll be met by a staff member to confirm their wellness screener was completed in Skyward. And if anyone doesn't pass screening or feels ill later in the day, they'll move into a separate room from their classmates, and then wait there until a parent or guardian can pick them up and take them home for the rest of the day. We'll continue to have minimal access to our campuses, really to anyone who's not a student or staff member. Our exterior doors at our middle schools will continue to be locked after school begins. If you do need to visit the campus anytime, you can see these procedures at the outside of our entry doors, where you buzz in and you're let into the building, where then you check in the office, and then you're screened as well when you enter a building for temperature and any signs of COVID. There may be some adjusted pickup and drop off routines for your school, and your schools will certainly let you know that. Staff will continue to wear their district badges. Next. Because we know that extracurricular activities are important to the well-being of students, we are going to introduce a concept of middle school intramurals. And this is really just to connect to our 4 pillars of student success, where we believe through extracurricular activities, students show a passion for lifelong learning. They're able to collaborate with their peers. They develop character skills and traits, and they're also have opportunities to show their leadership. So we will run some programs after school begins for student athletes who are interested in these intramurals. They are not competitions between schools. They'll be inter-squad activities, really, and we won't be participating with our league schools either. Student athletes will need to fill out the online athletic forms as we did last year, and turn in a physical if it's if it's been over 2 years since your last physical, or 24 months. In-person students will participate on the day that they're present, right? So, and virtual students will be assigned a specific day for participation if they wanted to come to school after school and participate in these after school, middle school intramurals. Again, remember back to the immunization, everyone who comes to campus has to be immunized, and also follow the online athletic packet process. So next slide shows our seasons. We're hoping to begin on March 11th, boys and girls track, co-ed soccer, boys baseball, girls volleyball. And then in season 2, you'll have boys and girls cross country, co-ed tennis, girls fast pitch, and then boys flag football. Those will run from 3:30 to 5, and every school will have, or Lockburn, Thomas, and Hutloff will have an activity bus at 5:15 to take students home. So those are some opportunities outside of other extracurricular activities that students would participate in. We feel like this gives them, again, an opportunity to show some lifelong learning, collaboration, character development, and leadership skills. Next slide. So we keep talking about providing masks. We will be providing every student 2 cloth face masks by the district for the remainder of the year. Our staff all wear a new KN95 mask daily. And some of our classroom staff members wear additional PPE. It's really dependent on the circumstances of that classroom. And we are looking to maintain 6-foot distancing. That's how we've set up our classrooms. We have put markings and such in the hallways to also reinforce that 6-foot distancing. Next slide. We have daily cleaning, disinfecting of high traffic areas, doors, counters, sinks, and other horizontal surfaces, restrooms, and health room. Touch points are disinfected twice daily. We do have a new UV sanitizers that we bring in when there are rooms or areas of the building that have been impacted, and we use those to clean and sanitize that room. Next slide. We've put around the buildings signage around safe hygiene and hand washing. We're really looking for water fountains are available for water bottle filling, and they'll be disinfected periodically throughout the day. However, you are encouraged to send your children to school with water bottles if you have concerns about them using the water fountains to refill their water bottles. Next slide. We put directional signs as an example over at Thomas of directional signs saying you're going to go down one side of the hallway and come back the other side of the hallway, trying to maintain that 6-foot distancing. Talking about how we exit the room, and there'll be other directional signage throughout the school. So as students come back in these phases, remember 6th graders, then 8th graders, then 7th graders, they will be taught how to exit the classroom and how to move throughout the building. Next slide. The only school of which we have lockers, or the only 2 that we have lockers in right now, are Hutloff and Harrison Prep. We are not going to be using lockers, and our locker rooms that we have at our schools are not going to be used either. So there's no locker room access during the school day or for intramural activities. And students need to carry what they need from class to class. They will not be using any lockers. Thomas and Lockburn, both of those schools don't have lockers, and Hutloff has discontinued the use of their lockers. So just being aware of that when you send your student to school. Excuse me. There will also be new safety protocols in place for our PE classrooms, our music classes, including band, orchestra, and choir, art classes, and drama and theater classes. There's really a lot of guidance from the Department of Health about PE, music, art, and drama. So as your student comes to those classrooms, we will be informing them of what those safety protocols are. Next slide. So students attending school on site will have access to lunch. There'll be either the option to eat in the cafeteria or the classroom. Students in remote learning who are 100% virtual can pick up their lunch at their nearest school to them. So that doesn't have to be a middle school. If your nearest school is Oak Brook Elementary, then you can go to Oak Brook Elementary to pick up a lunch and a breakfast. And we're providing every student district-wide lunch and breakfast free. Next slide. So if a student develops symptoms during the school day, again, health staff will be notified. We'll separate that student from other students so the guardian can pick them up. If a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19, the district will work with the health department, the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, to ensure proper procedures are followed. We don't identify either the staff member or the student, but we do notify when we have cases, either by phone or email or letter. And we then, if it's a COVID case on site, we will back to those UV sanitizers. We'll be using those to conduct any deep cleaning at an impacted school. But we have done we have been practicing this protocol as we've had students on campus, and we will communicate with you anytime where there's a suspected case on campus. So team, we've reached the Q&A. So are there some questions that we should answer?
Oh yes, we got a few. Okay, well, let me get mine. First and foremost, one that we've seen quite a bit is this the best you can do? Why just 2 half days when elementary is going full days? So I don't want to throw you a softball first, Brian.
I know, right? Not even ease me into it. You know, we worked with staff and we worked with administrators on the best possible schedule. One thing that runs problematic at secondary is endorsement. So teachers have to be endorsed in their content area. So you have to have a certificate to be a math teacher or be an English teacher or social studies teacher. It's not a general endorsement like our elementary teachers are. So if we created a virtual only school options, we would have had to limit what students would have been able to take in that virtual environment. So what we wanted to do was make sure students could stay as part of their, stay in their current second semester schedule as much as possible. Otherwise, we would have had to change everybody's schedule. Another softball question like that?
Well, let me see. Maybe I can work on something a little more difficult. Is the in-person afternoon class an actual class, or is it teacher support?
You will be actually attending your teacher's class. So if you have Ms. Sandstrom for band at Hutloff, you'll attend Ms. Sandstrom's class, and Ms. Sandstrom will be there. So you'll be in person with Ms. Sandstrom.
This next question, when will half days ever change to full days based on COVID cases or anything? And if so, when might that be?
So we'll have to see. One of our complicating factors in increasing the number of students in a classroom is a 6-foot distance between students. So nose to nose, they have to be 6 foot apart. So that limits how many kids we could actually have in a class. There is work being done at the state level about, is it possible to reduce that distance between students, which would thereby increase the number of students we could have in class. So most of our middle school classrooms run around somewhere between 27 to 32. So that because of the 6-foot distancing, we wouldn't be able to get that number of students into a class. That would, if we could increase that, we could have students come more often to school.
Okay. Here's the next question. I understand that students are being asked to bring charged laptops to and from school. So what you're saying, is this going to be virtual school, but only in a classroom?
No, we're hoping. We've been working with our teachers in some professional development on Wednesdays about how to extend the learning from the mornings. But there are some things that you know, still writing a paper would be done on a computer. There are some things in career and technical ed classrooms that you would still be doing that work on your computer. What we don't want is a student to share a classroom computer. So period 1 uses the computers that are in the classroom, then period 2 comes in and uses the same computers. That's not going to stop the spread of COVID between students. So if you're going to a career and technical ed class where you're actually using a computer, we just want you to use your computer, not a computer that's shared by anybody else.
Well, speaking of computers, this has come up several different times, and so I'm going to let you answer this live. I know that we have been answering it as well by text, but will students be able to bring their personal computers to school instead of their school-issued device?
I think we currently have the guest Wi-Fi access points open in the school. So yes, they should be able to log into the guest Wi-Fi.
Okay. Our 6th graders, this might be for Kevin, I think, whoever, this is up for grabs. How about that? Are 6th graders able to do after-school activities?
Yes, they would be able, in these intramural activities, they would be able to participate. To participate, though, you need to complete the online athletic packet that you can access in Skyward Family Access.
Can students who are virtual participate in intramurals?
Yes. There'll just be a little bit different schedule for them. And they would be talking to the athletic coordinator at that school. So there are different athletic coordinators at each of our 3 middle schools. Harrison Prep students don't have those activities at their school site. They would go to the school site that's closest to them or they're connected to.
All right, and then when I know that we had a slide on this, but if they join late or if there was an audio glitch. When will students be able to attend after school activities? When do those begin?
March 11th.
I think we answered this one, but I will say it live just in case this came up. If my kids can't make the first week of school, how will they get their Z passes? Also, is the health form required every time they attend in-person school? I think they mean the wellness screening. So 2 different questions, Brian. Sorry. Let's start. Let's start with Z Pass. If you can't make it your first week, how do you get your Z Pass?
Oh, you'll be able to pick up your Z Pass on the day that you arrive to school. The bus drivers will pick up your student. There's usually, after they've been distributed, there's a list of students who got on the bus without their Z Pass. They're going to inform the school that. The school will then know that they need to get that Z Pass to you so you can ride the bus home.
Also, just as a point of clarification, as people have arrived late or there's been several transportation questions, for parents who are looking for the bus stop location, you will find that on our school district, the Clover Park School District website. So not your individual school, but the Clover Park School District website. Click on the parent tab and then scroll down until you find transportation, and there you can find your bus stop. Second part 2 of that first question, though, Brian, is the health form, I believe this means the wellness screening, required every time a student attends school?
Yes, anytime that you send your student to school on site, you need to complete the wellness screener. So we are doing it a little bit differently than elementary. So elementary has a different process, the K-5, but 612, so just anybody who has a high schooler, 612, we're all going to do the wellness screener. If the student can do it, they have access to the wellness screener. They can do it before getting on the bus, before coming to school, as well as the parent.
All right, this is a good question. Are sports fees free?
So yes, that's a good question. We will not be charging for the ASB cards for middle school this spring.
Okay, here's a great one. We have lots of brand new 6th graders who've been in 6th grade for half the year, but yet have never been to middle school.
I know. Some kids have never been to Thomas at all.
I know, so that's so exciting for them. My 6th grader will be using the bus for the first time, so I'm unfamiliar with the process. Do I need to fill out a form or anything to schedule her for a certain bus, or does she just show up at the stop?
Yeah, the students just show up at the stop. So you go back, just like Holly talked about, you go back to the district website, you go to parent. About a third of the way down is bus routes. You click on bus routes. If your student's going to, let's say, Thomas, and you live on McCord, it'll show you D Street Southwest and 8th Street Southwest. The bus will start picking your students up at 11:16 a.m.
All right. So here's a good one. We've talked about intramural sports. What about after school clubs? How will that work? Will they be meeting in school?
We are working on some of the details on after school clubs. Right now, the clubs at the high schools have been meeting in teams and they have joint codes. We'll probably be doing something similar because it's hard because not all the students are there on the same day. So we really need to keep clubs probably virtually. But we're exploring that some more. So more details probably come out around that as students return to school.
This one was in our chat, and I just wanted to make sure I capture that before it goes away. What happens if the students who is a special education student, if their schedule conflicts with class times?
So the special ed student will be following their published middle school schedule. So period 1 is with a particular, they're going to follow that schedule. So what we've been attending to date and for the next couple days will change a little bit for that middle school student because they'll be following the schedule that's in Skyward for them. So they'll attend periods 1, 2, 3 or periods 4, 5, 6. So they'll travel between classes just like everybody else will be.
Here's a great one. We talk about, lunch and how that will work. Do we have a limit, or is that based on the size of the school? Is there a limit of number of kids allowed in the cafeteria if they want to eat in the cafeteria?
So at Lockburn, Thomas, and Hutloff, we'll be eating in the cafeteria. Because we're having 2 lunch periods, that has limited the number of students in the lunchroom to about 150 kids per session at the max. And so with 6-foot social distancing, the capacity of our cafeterias at those 3 schools, we can do the 2 lunches.
Okay, my daughter wants to know if there will be more club signups. So say because, they didn't know to sign up for a club, is that going to be another opportunity, or intramurals opportunities if they missed it the first time?
Yeah, so intramurals are just beginning. That's just starting March 11th. So you can still sign up for those. You can start signing up for those tonight, right, by completing the athletic packet. After school or extracurricular activities in terms of clubs, yes, there's still opportunity to join. We may be even expanding some of those at each of the schools. Now that we have more kids coming, we can on site, we can do some more novel new things for students.
One of the questions was, okay, so I got it, I have to do the forms online. Where do I find the forms online?
If you go to the school website, you can go to athletics and they'll talk you through how to get online to complete the form. So if you go to Hutloff and the Hutloff website, let's say, on the front page, there's a tab about athletics. It's got a soccer ball. And when you go to that page, they'll talk to you about how to complete the form.
Okay, here's a great one. I just always love the ones that's going to, make you have to think a little harder there.
Oh, come on.
Yes, I received an email stating that my son starts March 1st, but I'm looking at the 7th grade schedule and it says March 8th. So that might have just be an error that we need to work out with your school. So please call your school, let them know that your son is a 7th grader, because he would be starting on March 8th. Also, another question about parent last name starts with a different letter of the alphabet than the students. So this is by student last name, correct?
It's by student last name.
Okay. Okay, some of these we've answered.
If you don't find a bus stop listed on your for your child, just call transportation. I think it's 5. I shouldn't say it off the top of my head. I think I'm going to be right. 253-583-5494 is the phone to transportation. They can look up your address. You can also go to the school or they'll easily answer your question.
Okay. As far as sports go, will they have transportation back on base for students?
Yes.
Also, this is new for some of our base families because they're going to a new middle school. And so again, to find bus stops, they would need to go to the Clover Park School District website, go to the parent tab at the top, and then scroll on down till you see bus stops. And then you can see.
Yeah, in the chat, the link to the website was put into the webinar chat. So if you kind of scroll up, you'll find it. We can probably put it down lower again, but the link to cloverpark.k12.wa that gets you to the link to the bus routes.
All right, and then a parent wants to know what are students going to be doing in PE?
So yeah, that's always a good question. More about health topics, stretching, nutrition, maybe walking, low risk sports like you could potentially do tennis or badminton or pickleball, where you're not sharing a lot of equipment, you're not in close proximity with somebody else. So it'd be more about low risk sports, which are defined by the WIAA. You could do running, right, which are keeping you at 6 foot distance or separated from people, right? So number of those kinds of activities.
You know, this is a hot burning topic, I think, but what about parents? Are they allowed to attend games, even if they're intramural sports, during the sports season?
Well, no. I mean, I'm a parent of a senior who plays on the soccer team for Lakes High School, and I can't attend the games either. I have to watch on a tiny little computer screen, just like everybody else. So unfortunately, based on the governor's phased in return, we're just not having visitors at activities. It's just easier and safer for everyone involved.
Okay. Okay, so a parent is asking, do you have to take the bus, or are parents allowed to drop off?
Oh, parents are allowed to drop off. You need to follow the procedures for your school, right? Making sure you're in the right drop-off section. Each school has its own place for parent drop-offs and pickups. So make sure you're following that for Lockburn or Hutloff or Harrison Prep. A lot of people don't know the procedures at Thomas, but I'm sure in the next couple of days you'll get an email or a phone call about where parents drop off at Thomas.
So that also goes for students who are walkers or ride bikes. They just need to follow whatever the school procedure is.
Correct.
Okay. Where can a parent find the sports schedule? Is that yet on the website?
I don't think so. I think we were introducing the concept in this webinar, so we can get that posted later. We were going to roll it out here and not just have people accidentally find it on our website.
Okay. A student says, is it okay to bring your sack lunch? Can they bring lunch from home, or do they have to eat the lunch provided by the school?
Oh, sure. You can bring your own lunch or eat your lunch before you get on the bus.
That's right, since you're going a little bit later.
Right.
Does a student attend the after-school sports just the days they attend in person, or
Yes.
are they allowed all days? Just the days they go
Just the days that you attend in person.
Okay, so this is, I know we've answered this, but I keep getting more and more questions. So because we just want to make it clear, because in the beginning we told you couldn't bring your personal computer when we first started this whole thing.
Right.
Kids can bring their personal computer and connect to the guest Wi-Fi, is that correct?
Correct.
Oh, we're completely new to Clover Park School District, so welcome.
Welcome.
What is a Z-Pass?
Yeah, what is it? I know
That's a great
we talk in
question.
acronyms all the time.
I know,
right?
like they should just know.
It's a hard, basically card that's got your student's picture on it, and it's got a GPS locator in the back of it that basically a chip that's scanned by the reader in the bus. So it says, when I scan on, it tells you what time a student scans onto a bus. It then tells the system where that student was picked up. When they get off the bus, they scan to get off the bus, and it tells us what time they got off the bus and what stop they got off at.
All right, here's a good question. There's lots of good questions. Please know that we're trying to get to as many of the ones that we haven't answered as we can. If my student is remaining virtual, will anything change?
No. They have the same teacher, same class schedule. They'll meet with their teachers in the morning, just like they have been doing, and working with the materials that the teacher posted in the afternoon, just like they have been to date.
So this one says, wait, so 6th grade starts on March 1st. What about the B days? Is it the same for the first day of virtual learning? There's lots of questions in that one question. Wait.
You start, if you're an A day student, you would start March 1st. If you're a B day student, as a 6th grader, you would start on March 2nd, on Tuesday. That's why they're split by, they're every 2 days essentially. So 6th grade A, March 1, 6th grade B, March 2nd, and then 8th grade, March 4th A, and then March 9th, B. 8th grade. And then 7th grade is then that following Monday and Tuesday split in A and B.
Okay.
It wouldn't be till the Thursday of that second week that everybody's coming. Everyone will be 6, 7, 8. Or I guess that'll be that first Monday.
Okay. Oh, on the bus routes, it shows that my kids ride a different number bus going to and coming home. There's a few bus questions about that, like how do they know they're on the right bus coming home? Always good idea just to ask the bus driver, this is where I live, are you going there? But do you want to answer that at all? If it says they're on 2 different buses.
Yeah, I'm not clear about that myself. I would call that transportation number. Maybe we can find that question out for you. If you could put your the bus number in the chat, maybe we can follow up on that.
Sometimes they'll put something in the window too that'll because bus numbers do change sometimes, and they'll put this is normally bus 31, but now bus 4, and they'll put something up in the window. So just to let you know, they don't let kids guess at that. Do you know how students will be seated on the bus if it's 1 per seat?
That would be the initial intent. Yeah, it kind of depends on the ridership of that bus. Every other seat is the goal.
Right, and siblings could sit together if you had
siblings could sit together.
You mentioned an app for students to do their health wellness screening. Where is that? And
so students can download the Skyward app to their phones, cell phones, just like a parent can download the Skyward app. They have their access code to Skyward. A new sixth grader may not be familiar with that, but our 7th and 8th graders are certainly familiar with that.
Okay.
We will be posting that hybrid schedule on the website. We just felt like we needed to present it first before posting it. It'll get posted to the district website, to the return to learning page. Just like we've got the elementary hybrid learning schedule up there, you'll see under hybrid learning the next day or two, the middle school schedule coming up.
Okay. I'm madly trying to answer some of these as I'm also asking questions. If virtual learners are keeping their same teachers, are in-person kids getting different teachers?
Nope, everyone keeps their same teacher.
Why are the 7th graders starting after 8th graders?
Well, that's a good question. When we looked at the passing, the failure rate of students, the 7th graders were actually doing the best. Like they were the
rock stars of our
the rock stars of the middle school. Our 6th graders, of course, we needed to bring them in because they've never been to middle school first. So that was our rationale, right? 6th grade first. 8th graders were struggling the most, and so we thought getting them in earlier would help them. But because we postponed a little bit late into March, could we have changed it? Yeah, but we had been saying this order since we had put it out there. So it was really based on some data that we had looked on at grade failure, and that's the reason why.
Okay, we had mentioned that siblings can sit together on the bus, but can they eat lunch together, especially a new 6th grader?
We'll have to work that out as time goes on, but yes.
Okay.
I think we're going to be close to time.
We are. We've got like 2 more minutes. I'm looking. Well, okay. I'm going to get as many as I can, though.
All right.
Will there be locker rooms at Thomas for PE and after school sports? How does that work with changing clothes?
We're not going to be changing clothes, so there's no locker room use at all. The challenge with locker rooms is it's a close proximity. It's not a good place to maintain 6-foot social distancing. So locker rooms are basically off limits. That's out of guidance from Department of Health as well. It's just really hard to provide safety in terms of COVID transmission in a locker room.
Also, some of our questions are very specific to a school, and so please feel free to reach out to your school because we're gonna have to end this in just a minute or two. Also, just a reminder that we did record this. And so this will either be posted tonight or probably first thing in the morning, probably look for it then, in case that you missed any of the presentation. If we were not able to get to your questions, you can either reach out to your school. Let's see if there's anything that we didn't get. Brianna, did you see anything that we didn't get that we needed to do?
No, you covered most of it.
Okay, all right. Lots of questions asking about the rationale for the 2 days a week, but we answered that. Okay, sorry, I'm just making sure. Information about the sports packet still on Skyward. That needs to be done before your students can do intramural, but there will be probably more information coming from the school as your student
Right.
attends. Okay. What's the procedure if anyone tests COVID positive? I'm going to give you, you've got 45 seconds to answer that one.
Right, we'll basically make contact with that family. We'll let any families that were in contact with that student for within 6 foot distance for more than 15 minutes. We'll get in contact with those families directly by phone. Your student has had no contact with that student at all. There'll be an email or letter sent out to that school-wide, just saying there was no contact, but there was a case.
Okay. Did you answer the phone number? Did you answer the phone number for transportation?
Transportation is 253-583-5494.
Okay, it is now 6 o'clock.
All right.
So
thank you, everyone.
please look for this recorded on the district's YouTube page, and you can find that on the district's webpage. Thanks so much, everyone.
Good night.